Sophie, and I'll be talking about Kyoto for my talk today. So, think of Kyoto. What comes to your mind? Is it the ancient temples, traditional tea houses, or the meticulous gardens? Or perhaps it can be experiencing Japanese culture, like wearing a kimono, riding the rickshaw, meeting geisha, and taking part in a spiritual event. Kyoto is celebrated for its rich Japanese cultural heritage. But would you believe me if I said that it is also a home of leading technologies? Today, I'll be taking you on a journey to Kyoto and showing how a city full of ancient traditions became an inspirational place for many of Kyoto's innovative companies that were able to reframe and evolve their own businesses by applying new ideas and technologies. Believe it or not, today, more than half of the 29 Japanese Nobel Prize laureates are related to Kyoto. The city's insistence on perceiving old traditions are what sets for the stage for process and new ideas. Many of Kyoto's companies that were able to be the top players in their own fields tend to be open-minded towards modern ideas while perceiving their own wisdom at the same time. Temples are perhaps the first thing that comes to a tourist mind when thinking about Kyoto. In temples, Buddha's altar words are often seen. Back in 1860s, a gentleman named Genzo Shimazu was born and started making Buddhist altar words like the rest of his family. However, at that time, the Japanese government has taken a negative stance towards religion. Therefore, the demand in religious utensils were on a downturn. So Genzo and his brother took the opportunity to study at Semikoku, a science research center that is situated near their workshop, where the latest scientific instruments are gathered. From there, Genzo took new ideas and applied to his family's business. Over time, the company Shimazu was able to reframe and evolve from a Buddhist altarware craft maker to repairing and producing scientific instruments such as spectrographs, X-ray devices, and electronic microscopes. A combination of traditional techniques in making Buddhist altarwares, including woodcraft, precision measurements, foil stamping, and lacquer coating, laid the foundation of what Shimazu is creating today. That's the advanced scientific equipment. Now, another Japanese cultural heritage is pottery. Kiyomitsuyaki is well known in Kyoto. Akira Murata was born into one of the Kiyomitsuyaki makers. Like many younger generations in the family business, Akira wanted to expand the business, but encountered resistance from his father, who urged him not to follow the crowd. So he saw other possibilities for their ceramics. In the chaotic period immediately followed by World War II, radio broadcasts were widely popular since it was the only form of entertainment and informational source available. And it increased the demand in ceramic capacitors rapidly. Akira seized the opportunity and decided to make ceramic capacitors because the Murata family was already making ceramics, so it was not hard for them to give a try on making ceramic capacitors. Then he established his company in an old dyeing factory to make ceramic capacitors, and it went very successful. Eventually, it led the companies to mass produce ceramic elements and electronic components that are commonly used in our daily lives, such as cars, mobile phones, computers, and home appliances. And the company eventually developed robots, as you can see here, to demonstrate their advanced technology and their use of electronic components. Today, Murata Manufacturing has been so successful that it is the leading company in the electronic component industry, and it has a 40% share around the global market of ceramic capacitors. Murata is a great showcase where it evolved from a ceramic craft maker to eventually developing advanced technologies and produce worldwide ceramic elements and electronic components. Now let's shift the focus a little bit and talk about having fun in Kyoto. People travel to Kyoto to experience and enjoy Japanese culture. And in fact, Kyoto was once the center of Japan, and it was full of all forms of entertainment, including card gambling. However, it led to addiction among a high rate of Japanese population back then, causing crimes and social disorders. Therefore, Japan banned gambling during the Meiji era. While other card manufacturers had chosen to leave the market, not wanting to associate with criminal ties, the founder of Nintendo, Fusajiro Yamauchi, persisted without such fears in making Hanafuda, a set of unique cards. Now people may ask, what's so special about the Nintendo cards compared to any other cards? Well, unlike the Western cards with numbers and signs, the Nintendo cards are well designed with Japanese traditional illustrations, such as historical person or flowers. However, the sales of Hanafuda cards gradually declined as people became attached to other forms of entertainment. Despite the business environment change, Nintendo did not give up here and insisted on providing the best entertainment while using the latest technology and unique ideas. It then released Japan's first electronic toy, the beam gun, and made it into a blockbuster hit. But eventually moved on to making video games due to the oil crisis's impact on electronic plastic products. Through Nintendo's history, it has evolved while encountering challenges, such as discontinuing certain businesses, but committed on keep going with its business by reframing them over and over again and sticking to the principle of bringing joy to their customers while embracing new forms of technology. Now, you might wonder, it seems like now these Kyoto traditions can be only appreciated and understood by Kyoto people. So does that mean only people in Kyoto can benefit from Kyoto's old wisdom? People from all of the world or outside of Japan can also be inspired by Kyoto's traditions and wisdom. Actually, Steve Jobs is a good example. I'm pretty sure you all are confused. How does the founder of Apple has anything to do with Kyoto? Well, Steve Jobs had a connection to Kyoto through his interest in Japanese culture and design aesthetics. And he also incorporated these inspirations in Apple's products. It all started with three pieces of woodblock prints, Shinhanka. That was the first time that Jobs was introduced to Japanese culture. He was fascinated by these pieces of artwork where it is the expression of a person from artist to cover and to printer. So he took the inspiration and applied it to Apple's first mass market product, the Macintosh, where people can design their desired picture and render it on a digital format and then print it out on a printer, giving people the possibility to print on their own desks. As Apple progressed, another Kyoto's heritage drew Steve Jobs' attention. He laid his eyes on ceramics, especially the curves of these handcrafted goods, and he took the curves and applied it to Apple's new product in 1998. The iMac was a groundbreaking innovation, unveiling the design previously unseen and unthinkable. During many of Steve Jobs' trip to Kyoto, he drew inspiration to the serene atmosphere, the spiritual events, and handcrafted goods of Kyoto. And while following Zen Buddhism practice, he realized that the human world does not only work in the physical way, but it also has a spiritual side to it. So, and these principles were being applied to Apple's most successful product, the iPhone. Back then, smartphones and mobile phones only had mechanical plastic touch buttons that you can press on and apply physical use of technology. And it dominated the market, which Steve Jobs did not like, as he found it unappealing and pursue simplicity and beyond physical touches. So he introduced sleek-looking products like iPhone that resonated on a spiritually interact with our phones, replacing the mechanical buttons with the power of our fingers and minds. And these technologies were also applied to the technology of AI. So from all the companies I've mentioned above, I also have a little takeaway, and I summarized it into a tree. It is separated into 3 parts: the root, the trunk, and branches. The root represents the old wisdom, like traditions, culture, and Zen Buddhism. And the trunk represents the process where companies takes their old traditions and apply new ideas to it, then eventually grow out and branch out tree leaves, like they become successful after evolving their businesses. So whenever you are either taking in or shutting down new ideas, you can maybe take a short trip to Kyoto, or even a simpler way, you can visualize my tree, by taking in new ideas and incorporate it with old wisdom and traditions, just like my tree. Thank you.